for Thokozani Mkhulu. Thokozani, thank you very much for joining us. This is AFROSAVVY Spiritual School. It's online spiritual school, and we try to meet here every weekend to share on ancestral knowledge, really, and to support everybody going through the journey, to support everybody who has family members that are going through the journey, to support people wanting to know more about the journey. And what we do ordinarily is we welcome and we invite people that have been walking this journey, teachers who can teach, people who have who also are gobelas, who have initiated people. And it's not just gobelas, it's also people who are walking this journey as ethically as possible, because there's so many ways to walk the journey. So we have over time selected some people that we have also personally learned from to invite and be guest lecturers on the program. Thokozani. So today we're going to be speaking on the Abalozi spirit. And I'm just going to briefly introduce the Abalozi spirit, or the Lozi people, which is not the Lozi people, because it is a spirit. The spirit, they are people. It's from people who are actually living and have lived. So we actually still do have the Abalozi people, and they are primarily a Southern African Bantu-speaking ethnic group who speak isiLozi. That is the language that they speak, or Rozi. Some people call it Rozi. And the ethnic group consists of more than 46 different ethnic groups, and they are primarily situated in Western Zambia. They will also be found in Namibia, Angola, Botswana, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. And they originally originated from the river, along the Zambezi River. This tribe still has a king. They are in Zambia. They were also involved in the Mfeqane series of wars, and they were also affected by that. So I'm just bringing up that history so that we actually also understand that, to understand how we actually are related as Bantu speaking people, that our ancestry it was destabilized by the wars. So we think that we are different people and all of those things, and those things are just all political. We are essentially really one people that were disenfranchised by the wars that happened in that time. And these wars, a lot of them also happened, it was just, okay, I know it was mainly King Shaka, but it was also when the colonialists arrived, they caused a whole lot of division. So there was a whole lot of fighting. So things became more political than they actually originally were before we were confronted with colonialism. I want to introduce and to invite Mkhulu.
Siyavusela kuba Gogo nabo Mkhulu wherever you are. And I believe that the topic today is about Abalozi. Abalozi, I've been listening to what you have been saying. It is actually the truth. Abalozi, as we're talking about Abalozi as the people, then we'll be talking about Abalozi as an ancestral spirit, Noma Idlozi labelozi. So we cannot define Abalozi, firstly, if we can, Idlozi labalozi, if we don't define Abalozi as a people first. Right? Who are Abalozi? Abalozi are a people, the combination of two nations or two people, which are the people that originate from Congo, right? They originate from Congo, from the Luba and the Lumba kingdom. Then they went down to the Western Zambia, and they settled in the place now known as the Barotse kingdom in Zambia. Then when they were there, they were speaking a different language, not isiLozi, but they were speaking a language of themselves that combined them between the Luba and the Lumba people. Then they went to stay there. Then there was the nation of the Sotho people led by Kololo. Kololo went to Western Zambia, and when he went to Western Zambia, he found these people from the Luba and the Lumba. Then after from the Luba and the Lumba kingdom, then he just conquered them by using the techniques of Ilembe, which is Ushaka, which was a buffalo at war. that he used. Then he conquered them. When he conquered them, therefore the language they combine now, the Kololo language and the language that they were speaking, and they started calling Isilozi. Isilozi is actually a language that is spoken by Abalozi. Abalozi, when they speak Isilozi, it's more like a broken Sutu. If you can hear when they speak, yes, it's like a combination of one language, the Congolese language, and as well as the Sutu language, then it produces Isilozi, which is a Congolese language, right? From that time, the kingdom has been established now of Abalozi. Now Abalozi, because of the tribal wars within, or tribal battle within, so they decided to go to different places. They went to Botswana, they went to KZN, they actually went through the Drakensberg mountain in Kahlamba, you know. And when they went there, it's where now we started getting to know about Abalozi. So Abalozi, there are two different definitions of Idlozi, City Lozi. We firstly give the first definition as a description of the type of people that Abalozi were. Some they would say Abalozi ngamabuto. I will explain why. Some they will say Amalozi and Amabuto are one and the same thing. Amabuto means the regiment. People that are in our time, we can say they were soldiers, you know. Because of these people, they were foreigners into the new land that they allocated next to the Drakensberg mountain or in Kahlamba. Then they use a certain art that whenever they are attacked, they will blow out a whistle. So Umlozi or Abalozi are people, they definitely, yes. But there was a sound that they took from the babes that they used specifically. When it does say, you know that this whistle that is very expensive when you buy them from the chemist. I don't know the actual name of that whistle. You know, it imitates exactly the culture of Abalozi, and most of the people who are actually having Abalozi, they're using such whistle because of it has that sound of that bait, you know. So that So Abalozi, when they settled to different places, they started to know in Botswana, Barotse. They say Kibarotse, Babulela Sirotse, you know, but it's the same people. When they went into KZN, they became Abalozi. When they reached into Swaziland, they called them Baloti. When they went into different places, then they started calling Balweti in the side of Lesotho. Then Balweti, they are the same thing that Babulela Siloiti, you know. And to something that's very interesting about the history of Abalozi, as ancient as it is, when the Besutus or the Batswanas and the Bapedis, they call a person who is a patient, but Okimulweti, you know, Okimulweti, meaning that it's a patient, but it's not actually a lozy person. So,
are you sitting outside?
Ngisendaweni wrong Gogo kuzomela ngithole indawo right. They are busy with the construction. Okay, thokoza ngizenza njalo.
Thokoza Gogo.
Thokoza ke.
Ndlondo. Hey, isubtouch namhlanje. Isubtouch namhlanje. Maybe we are speaking of a very sensitive and misunderstood type of an ancestor, Abalozi. Yeah, like I've said, Abalozi is actually a combination of two languages from the Luba in the Lumba kingdom, which is called Luyana, and as well as the language that was spoken, the Sotho, which were led by Kololo. Then it's created Isilozi, right? So like I've said, Abalozi can be defined in different in different names, influenced by different languages. Some they say Baloti, Abaloti, Abanye they say Roti or Baroti, Abanye they say Balweti, Abanye they say Abalozi. So because of in the Nguni culture, we tend to glorify more of the Nguni people like Amazulu. Yingakho namhlanje sizothi le topic Abalozi. So I will say Abalozi, they are the ancestor of the Lozi people, you know. So therefore, they stayed in the mountain most of the time. Others, they stayed next to the river. Kulapho bebafika khona bakha khona izindlu zabo close to the mountain and close to the river, you know. So why is this important that I have to highlight this history? It is because of umuntu onabalozi will always relate with this, what I'm saying now, in terms of the science, ne? Right. So they were amabutho, they were actually soldiers or regiments, you know. So they were surviving by amabutho most of the time. So they had a relationship with birds, ne? There were certain type of birds that they were relating to with. You know, the one that I've related to, it gives a certain sound like, I don't know what is it called. I'm not good in sounds, but it's a, you know, I don't know if people they are familiar with such bird. It likes to stay next to the river and as well as next to the mountains. So most of the time, they will, when they go to the war, they will use this thing called Lozi. Lozi is the same thing like when the Zulus and the Xhosas, Namapata, and all those things, when they go to the war, you'll find there's something that they play, even in Gogo, or something like that. It is taken from Abalozi. It originates from the Balozi people. So Abalozi, because of they went straight into South Africa, as we call them now, from Zambia to Southern Africa, straight to South Africa. So Abalozi, when they came into our life, they got married like any other people to some of our families, maybe eMaxhoseni, eMaswatini, KumaZulu, and all those things. Then they got married too. So that is how now some of the people do have the lineage, the ancestral lineage Abalozi inside. So kuba yini ke manje sokuba lidlozi kubo. Iba yidlozi manje lento mayifika. So now when we're talking about Abalozi, there are signs now that shows that the person do have Abalozi. Listen, this is very interesting. Umuntu uzophupha, firstly ngikhuluma ngamaphupho. Umuntu uzophupha ehamba ezintabeni. You'll find yourself walking through the mountains. You will find yourself walking next to the river most of the time. All the time, wherever the person dreams, there's a river. He will find people speaking the language. Either they will speaking a broken suit, which is called Isilosi, or they will find people speaking Luyana, which is a Congolese language. Then some of the people, when they witness this, they tend to think that, no, I dreamt next to the river with a foreign language, therefore it means Utinginomdao. No. Luyana and Ichindao are two different things, even though they share the same vicinity, which is what? The river. Which also says that Abalozi batholakale manzini, and they are called Izimbiwa manzini. The Zulus, when they call this type of Abalozi that are related with water, they call them Izimbiwa manzini. Then there is one called Amakhosi Aphezulu, which is also Abalozi. So what I'm saying in short, I'm saying that Kona Amakhosi Aphezulu is a definition of Abalozi, the same thing, but it defines what type of Abalozi is. Then there is Isimbiwa manzini, which is also the type of Abalozi, laba abatholakala emanzini. Therefore, Abalozi, they are more native to the Zulus. Listen, they are very native to the Zulus, the Swatis, and as well as the Sutu people, including the Tswana and the Pedis. So when you have Lozi as the Sutu person, noma idlozi labelozi as a Sutu person, they will say, oh, unali balwezi, oh, ukemiki balwezi. If you have Lozi as a Zulu person, they will say, lo unomlozi. So there is a misnomer that they would say Abalozi, abanalo ikobongo, abanayo intwaso. They actually do. they actually do have umuthi impande oyintwaso. They actually also have imithi ekhanda igobongo labelosi. One of the common famous name ozothi mawungena chemistry ifuna just one that I will say is called Lozis. Khona umuthi obizwa ngokuthi is Lozis, you know, because of these people, they are originally from Congo. They went to the Western Zambia. They moved from the Western Zambia up to our areas. That is where now we started losing the types yamakambi abaphakamiswa ngabo originally. This is what it is. But because of umlosi, ukeme, you understand, between the Nguni or the Sutu people, therefore when you start initiating in the Nguni, ngempande yamanguni, then umlosi uyakwazi ukuphakama because of the certain izimpande that we are sharing with Abalozi, since they are one of our ancestral lineage as well, njengabanye abantu. So like I've said, when we're talking about the ancestors, we are not talking about things that are not known. It's very, very important wherever we define Abalozi to come with a history like you have explained. You went in detail to say which queen to where, so that at the end of the day we would understand. Like I've said, the science of whistles. It's a sign of somebody that you do have Abalozi. The people, they will find themselves abantu noma baphupha izimpi always, then they will say unamabuto. Remember to say, when I talk about amabuto, there are two different types of amabuto. There is one amabuto which are ancestors, and there is also type yamabuto which are actually imimoya ekhandwayo. Do you understand what I'm saying? Amabuto is this and all those things. But therefore there is also umlozi noma abelozi that is ancestral, and there is umlozi oyisilwane. Oyisilwane, you know. Lo khandela okhandelwa isigubhu bese uyakhuluma and all those things. So sekuyisilwane manje. But when we're talking about umlozi, it takes long. A person cannot claim to have umlozi osebenza ngamandla kuye. So umsebenzisa engakaze at least adlule 10 to 20 years etwasile, because of umlozi uthatha isikhathi ukuthi uqondakale. Masikhuluma ngomlozi lo esikhuluma ngawo namhlanje. Thokoza kho.
Okay. Just clarity Mkhulu. Uthi lo umlozi lo khanza ukuthi ukhandiwe. Lo wekwakhiwa. Uthi ukhanza ukuthi umuntu usebenza njani ngawo?
Umlozi lo khandwayo kusuke kuhlanganiswa impande ethile namathambo athize namafutha athize bese kukhanjwa lento esikuthiwa yisigubhu. I'm not going to give details, I'm just giving you a basic. Then masekhandwa lesigubhu lesi bese kuyahanjwa kuyothwetshulwa ithuna sigujelwe lapho. Bese siyatrapha bese siyavuswa. Sithi mase sivuswa lesigubhu lesi ke bese siyaqala siyakhuluma. There are many people that can testify to this, what I'm saying, to say you go to a healer athi nginomlozi, then umlozi wakhe is the one that is giving sounds and is talking in a certain language. You know, it happens.
I've witnessed, I've gone into Ndumba to interview umuntu ngakhanza anesigubhu sakhe. You know, what do you call it? What do you call it?
Isigubhu.
Akusiso nesigubhu Mkhulu man. The small calabash.
Yeah.
The small calabash.
Yeah, it's fellow.
Anyway, lapho umuntu anento le la ikhulumisayo. Ikhulume. Bakhulu egoneni, yabona khona?
Yes.
Yes, egoneni. Ukhuluma nayo leligona lakhe. Lende le sound likhulume naye bakhuluma language labayivako bobabili that you will not understand. Is that what you would be referring to as umlozi wokhanda?
Yes, that is what I'm referring to. When I said isgubu is the same as ikono.
Yes.
Normally they call it isgubu and there is called iswelo, you know, in the Zulu language.
Yes.
That is the very same thing that I'm talking about. So umlozi lowo wokukhandwa, which meaning ukuthi ungenzelwa noma ubani, but khona umlozi that is actually an ancestor or an ancestral spirit. That one actually speaks to you, you know, because of you will start hearing people speaking in your ears as if you are seeing them. But the people that are around you cannot hear that sound, you know, cannot hear when those people are speaking. So that is the original umlosi, lo oyidlozi, bese kuba nomlosi lo khandwayo oba yisilwane. You know, why I have to say this, I'm not trying to expose ozakwethu lapha ebunyangeni, those we live with. I am trying to make people to understand so that at the end of the day they can differentiate between this, the original, and something that is man-made, you know, and trap a certain spirit in order to impersonate a certain spirit, which is not correct. So the other sign of umlozi, Gogo, Simenjalo, is where a person will hear at night. It's either ezwe ngathi abantu bayakhuluma endlini. Sometimes umlosi wakhe ubize yena ukuzwe ethi mama uyangibiza mara kunganamuntu ombizile endlini normally. It's also another sign of umlozi, hearing the people speaking, you know, because of this is how umlosi is going to be working with this particular person when it's actually lentuzana treating people. So now umlosi, this type of umlosi, is the very same spirit, it is the very same spirit that we call it ubuprofeti noma umuntu masithi unesithunywa uyaprofeta ezayoni. Most of them, they're actually using Abalozi. That's why at most of the time you'll find out ukuthi masofika umuntu shayikhwele. You know, the meantime shayikhwele, the meantime around akakhulu, like the initiation, I mean the culture of Abalozi, rounding the fire at most time, emabayenza ama rituals wabo, bese thina sithi sikhalanga. It's the very same thing, you know. It's the same thing. Umlosi, most of the people abasebenzisa is profito bese umuntu athi uthi lo muntu mangikhuluma mangimlalela uthi is talking about umlosi that is working within the churchical environment. And we all know that during 1895, when there was a Witchcraft Suppression Act, they had to kill inyanga zethu that were practicing shamanism, and that therefore they had to go and join the church. That is when now the idea of the African churches started. Then they were using ubunyanga, but in a churchical manner or in a churchical way. So the very same spirit of Abalozi is the one that is still working up to this day. Thokoza ingakho sithi Abalozi abathwaswa bayaphakamiswa, sithi sithunywa asithwaswa siyaphakamiswa. Thokoza.
Thokoza ke. Thokoza, thank you so much for explaining that, because lendaba yokuva vele uze uthi manje kuthiwa ukhuluma nomuntu and now you don't know how to say to this person, because angeke ngisho ukuthi manje idlozi lakho lithi or in it ukhanza uthi kuthiwa manje angikutshele ukuthi or kuthiwa.
Yes.
What I'm hearing.
Yes.
Kuthiwa.
Yes.
And you are hearing, yes. It's like khona lokutshelako letinto leti and kwawena awuboni lo muntu lokutshelako, but now you've gotten used to the fact that you've gotten comfortable with the fact that kukhona lo lokuhle kukhuluma, because lokunye ama messages wathola ngemoya ayikuthi uve a sound, lokunye uve ukuthi manje khona lokutshelayo ukuthi so uthi manje kuthiwa, and you have no way of explaining to kuthiwa kushobani. It's like let's really
yeah.
Thokoza Mkhulu. I just want to ask, I'm going to go back, I'm very interested in this in umlonzi wokukhandwa ukuthi Mkhulu,
yeah,
sikhulume ke umuntu mase ashona unale gono lakhe lapha endumbeni lele hleli khuluma lele likhuluma naye language yakhe lenfo yalandwa le, what then happens? What happens? And I'm just wanting to know, what is it? Yeah, le tinto tekwakhiwa nalendlela leti base sowushona wena soyahamba lela basele nabo what then do they do with it?
Okay.
And when
Normally,
kunama rituals now lokufuteke uwende for lento yakho
yes.
spirit sakho lesi. So now what happens when mangabe kwakhona usengakashoni ukhona and now but you find that you now cannot do those things or you have to go away for a while, for a period. Who takes care of your kindred spirit?
You know, into yokukhandiwa Gogo Simenjalo, I will say siwakhulume nje amaqiniso without any doubt. Into yokukhandiwa, something that is man-made in terms of this occultic nature, ne? Iyalumbaniswa kusho ukuthi ihlanganiswa nawe mnini wayo. It's like more of isethwalo. Ihlanganiswa nawe. Ingena kuwe egazini, the very same muti that they use and the very same thing evusiwe yasetshenziswa ilumbaniswa nawe ingena kuwe egazini ngemigcabo. So therefore that thing is yours. It cannot be of somebody else. It will view somebody else as an enemy, you know. And when you as a owner dies, that thing, there must be a way to get a healer that understand these gimmicks ezenzakalayo in terms of the occultic practices. Ukuthi kube uyena umuntu ozonkiphela yona ngoba uma ningayikhiphi lento iphenduka ini umdliwa wasekhaya. It will start viewing each and every family within as isitha. But it's not all that becomes umdliwa. There is one that actually identifies a certain person that it can have a relationship with. For an example, ubaba uthi no mntanami uyabona lokho okungisebenza ngakho engikulethe lapha ekhaya ongithi kuMlozi kuyini in actual fact. So if therefore lento ifuna ukuthi ngathi ungayithatha usebenze ngayo ngoba mina sengigugile, you know, then it will continue as umkhuba wasekhaya kuthiwa no ugogo wayehlola ngalento le eyiswela noma leligono leli nami ngizohlola ngalo leligono. Then it comes to a question now to say, in a reality, do we actually share the very same ancestors now? If mina ngu-Shobelikhulu kaSimelani, then my wife ugogo Mvendla kaMvelase, because of it's a healer, when I die, will also using ugogo Mkhulu Shobelikhulu kaSimelani now. That is what I'm trying to talk about when I say we must differentiate between this umlozi wokwenzwa nomlozi okuyiqiniso. Lokho okwenza uyingozi Gogo Simenjalo. If then a person ingozi Gogo ngoba ilumbaniswa nawe leyo nto leyo. So if you die, you understand kumele uhambe nezinto zakho ngoba ubani ozoyiphakela. We don't understand how we treat this thing to have its own power. We don't every type of iswela noma this type of igono izinto ezifaka laphayana, we don't know ukuthi izidlani number one, you know. So how are you?
And also ngibani nje lo taba nale patience yakho.
Angizwa Gogo.
Ngiyakuva Mkhulu, you're back.
Yeah. So it's a problem. Ayilahle Gogo. If you go nento, you know, the reason, let me say this one more thing that people must understand. The main purpose why we are chosen by Amadlozi, ukuthi sibe amagotshwana noma sibe yigodo noma sibe isisekelo salamadlozi emhlabeni. It is because of this type of ancestors. They do not have, number one, a voice box, you know. They cannot speak. So they need a person that can be able to speak, a person that have legs in order, the person that has eyes in order to identify miti and all that. So if therefore lizoyikhulumela esigubhini lingana voice box, then you must question yourself, why limkhethile lo muntu kanti it can operate by its own self. But umlozi wangempela will want to speak in your ears, then you become the mouthpiece of that umlozi. That's why you would say, uma ngilalela abantu abadala bathi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because of definitely you are the mouthpiece of that idlozi lakini. Uyigotshwana lalelo dlozi lelo. There is no idlozi that can operate on its own uma likhethile njengomuntu kumele ulithabathe usebenze ngalo. Thokoza.
Thokoza Mkhulu. No, Thokoza Khehle. There's another interesting element that you brought up is indaba is prophet. Nokusebenta komlozi. I know prophet is a topic on its own that we're going to actually go into on one of these days. But you've just touched on a very important thing on how less prophet it will work no blows.
Yes.
I'd like for you to expand on that, please, Mkhulu, if possible.
Okay, Thokoza Gogo. We must differentiate. Differentiate something that is very similar. Uma sikhuluma, ngifuna ukuyidefine this thing. Uma sikhuluma ngedlozi, we are talking about an ancestral spirit, the spirit of your own ancestors that have returned from the spirit world and possessed you for a certain thing. Then that is idlozi. Then umlozi uyidlozi. Then if sikhuluma ngesithunywa, which is a shortened word, in short, sikhuluma ngesithunywa sikamenzi noma izithunywa zikamenzi. We're actually talking about a different entity, which is in religion they will say those are angels. Sithi izithunywa ingilosi zasekhaya. So those are not ancestral spirits, right? So now izithunywa zikamenzi noma isithunywa, it is an angel that one has a relationship with, because of we all know that Amadlozi way too, they have a relationship nezithunywa zikamenzi ngoba itongo, is the one that has a direct relationship with izithunywa zikamenzi, which are angels. Then idlozi liyisithunywa samathongo, it is the messenger of those ones esibabiza ngokuthi amathongo in the highest level. Abathuma lamadlozi ukuthi hamba uyongena laphana kuceli, ufike ube Gogo Simenjalo laphana kuye, ufike wenze 1 2 3 4. So these two things, they should not confuse people, for those. And therefore we are having isithunywa esisebenza ngokwebandla and bese siba nesithunywa esisebenza ngokwenkaba, lesi esisebenza ngokwenkaba yilesi kakhulu that is ancient, that is not religiously based, esizokuthumela entabeni emfuleni kuma cave and all those things, sikuthume uyokha umlotha uthi siwasho, ukhe amanzi uthi chibi and all those things. Then there is isithunywa now that is based sebandla, which is now the one that was indoctrinated due to the influence of the Witchcraft Suppression Act of 1895. Lapho ke manje sebangena ebandleni basebenza ngokweBhayibheli, basebenza ngokweyiwasho lezi ama-holy ash and all those things that were brought by the West. So therefore umlozi idlozi elisebenza between lo muntu lona othi yena nginesithunywa. No, une relationship nesithunywa ekuyisithunywa sikamenzi, but yena isithunywa esimphethe siyidlozi lakubo. Yingakho each and every person makaphupha isithunywa sakhe ngeke aphuphe izinto lezi kuthiwa ama-angel, kodwa uzophupha ugogo amaziyo noma waziwayo emndenini because of ilona isithunywa sakhe leso okuyidlozi. But most yamadlozi esithunyweni yilawo kwabalozi. Thokoza.
Thokoza ke. Masikhuluma ngesithunywa. We're really getting into isithunywa namhlanje.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
it is actually lidlodi lotalwa unalo. Lidlodi.
Yes.
It is what you would call njengoba usho nje sikhuluma ubileba kuyathi angels, but that is your guiding angel.
Yes.
Ukhula as a child laba abantwana bethu babasese connected when they have not been socialized and nanangithi to my parents. Those are the people that you will find your children laughs with and they talk to. And listen about and we think, oh, this child did wow. That is angel, that's their personal angel. And as ukhula, and manga unedlozi, ungenelwa idlozi, that is when that you will find ukuthi leso thunywa leso will make itself seen or make itself known. Kuba ngilapha likuvela nje ukuthi onangu mina, and you actually then grow to recognize the spirit. This person is always with me. This person has always been with me. When it comes to ukuthi idlozi selimature. And now you are actually able to recognize the muntu that you have has been with you from day one. What about it's actually weird how as we grow, we are able to then identify and able to speak of this person. And I'm going to speak in about this family as well. I will speak of Stunya Sam, and my children have met my Stunya, which is it's the things that happen. They've met this Stunya, they know this person, so I do not even have to actually break this person down because Lobuntu lona lilo dilala kaya or Stunya sala kaya and Stunya Sam. But Magus Tunya Sam, if they are actually connected, they are also able. Also depending on how they want to present themselves as a Tunya. Are they going to show themselves? Who are they showing themselves to? And how are they showing themselves? Are they speaking? Are they visual? Is it visual? Is it dreams? It's khona lokuta go Mkhulu lana ukuthi mahlukanisa njani nebalozi basemantini nebalozi basetulu angisho njalo balozi baphezulu.
Abalozi baphezulu, they're actually, we define them as abalozi baphezulu noma amakhosi aphezulu because of they used to stay in the mountain. Somebody will say abalozi basentabeni. Abalozi basentabeni and abalozi baphezulu, they are the same thing. So when we become entabeni, is definite. When we say phezulu, is descriptive, ne? Then we say kuba nabalozi basemanzini. Nabalozi laba, like any other type of ancestors that comes to a person, the dreams on its own will explain what type of a spirit you are actually having. You know, if you are dreaming a lot next to the river, then you will definitely know ukuthi unalabantu balapha emanzini. If you are having dreams uhambe intabeni wenza konke lokhu, you will know that unalamadlozi lawa kuphi aphezulu noma aseintabeni. That's how we can be able to differentiate. That's why I'm totally saying most of the time, it is not okay to tell a person to say when unabalozi baphezulu rabaphansi abasemanzini, when that particular person have not reported the dreams that actually telling you as a healer to say unambalozi bakuphi, or else uzophambanisela umuntu, uzothatha umphakamisele abalozi uthi ngikuphakamisela leli gobongo elesithunywa, uyangizwa thiwa leli gobongo elesithunywa, but imithi yakhona leyo mkhandela ngayo, you'll find out ukuthi awuyikhi ngase next to the river or phakathi emanzini, uyikha kuphi ezintabeni lephezulu, kanti yena unelozi noma abelozi abasemanzini. Then umlozi wakhe ujika ungasaphakamanga noma umlozi wakhe ujika ubuyela ngasemuva uhlehle, thiwa uhlehla sanyovana, ubuyele ngasemuva ngoba niwupha lento engamelanga uyihle.
Thokoza Mkhulu. Thokoza, it goes back again to why it is important that you communicate with the Gobela Wako in the process, or whoever is actually helping you even before they become a Gobela. The communication of the dreams, because it's a whole language on its own. So it's very important that you actually communicate. It also is very important. I try to encourage people to keep a journal next to your bed, so that you can write down these dreams, because or you will find that you actually need to, you will dream of something else that will remind you of a dream that you previously had. And that story of those dreams will actually, is the story that will actually tell the kind of ancestors you have. So it's really important to communicate with your guides, to communicate with Gobela Wako. It is also why it is important for Gobela to always try to take the time to listen to Abantwana Babo, to listen to the dreams, to listen to Abantwana Babo tell of the dreams, and to also, because Gobela doesn't have all the answers. So they also, sometimes it's just a matter of them just listening. And they may not be able to respond at the time or whatever, but at a point, because of also of the experience, and also because if they are tuned to umoya, but okay, this is where we are going. Also because of what is the things that they do, that they know and have learned along the way. So it's a journey for Gogo all the time. It's always a journey. It's never, like we say, it's never a destination. And as Mkhulu ahleli la, he's naye usakhula, naye usafunza. Nami ngiyakhula ngiyafunza on a daily basis. So angeke sithi this is where you are going to get to, and we say that you have arrived. Thokoza Khehle. This prophet, I'm going to say here, his prophet is going to be a lesson on for another day. Ngiyabona ukuthi a lot of people are interested. We also are very interested, and we have committed to sharing that lesson as well. Qhubeka Khehle, before Sivale, whatever else that you needed to add, ngendzaba yabalozi, so that we don't leave anything out, Mkhulu. What other ancestors affect the ears?
What other
ancestors affect the ears besides Abalozi?
Okay. Isithunywa angithi sesikhulumile the relationship between isithunywa. Also, sometimes they will say unesithunywa, which is also Abalozi, you know. And most of the time you find out ukuthi yibo kakhulu that actually deal with ears because of yibo abantu bomhlahlo, you know. When I talk about umhlahlo, I am talking about something that you hear that you will speak, you know, than throwing some divination tools like amathambo, ikhendlele, ikono, or something else. But bazokhuluma kuwe kuphi ezindlebeni, you know. Most of the time abalozi ubezwa kahle empophomeni Gogo. You know, empophomeni kulapho ke ubezwa kahle uma bekhona ngoba indlebe zakho kulapho ke zikhuluma khona ke manje ukuthi ngempela nginabo abelozi. So like it's water now. I'm relating Abalozi to water in that sense. So it will be very important. Gog?
No, ngiyabatshela nje Khehle ukuthi ipophoma is a waterfall in case they are listening and they are
yes. Oh yes. Amanzi lawo ehlezi intabeni impophoma, it's a waterfall. Therefore, there is 2 colors ne that Abalozi normally uses a lot. It is a red and a white color. Red and white color, you know. When you come up in Mangunini, you know, when you go to other people, you're talking about the color white, you know, they will say it's Tunya, other they will say Umzau, you know. When you have red, you go to the Khoza people, you say the Twasa Insimbi Ebomvu, it will mean Umdao. So now this red and white to other people is Umdao. But why I want to say this, I just want to say this, that if we do not understand that Abalozi, they also use the red and white, the very same red that were used by the Ngunis, you know, it simply means Uti. That's why you will find out they will say, you cannot be a Nguni, ungenau umlosi, you know, because of this I interrelated a lot. Nguni, and also because of they share water and they share the mountains as well. They share the very same vicinity within the Ndau and the Ngunis. You know, the Ngunis, they are land-based, the Ndaus, they are water-based. So umlosi, wana, ungena kuyo yonke le ndawo. So it's very important that we understand umlosi. As I've indicated the science of Abalozi, people, they must be very, very conscious of the language that they hear when they are dreaming, for an example, because of dreams are carriers of message. Sometimes they will hear the Luyana language, and they will think it's a Congolese language from the Luba and the Lumba. And that is where before they become Isilosi, they were speaking the Luyana language. Then a person will say, hey, yazi ngiphupe ngibona abantu bakhuluma ulimi engalazi. Sometimes it happens that it could be umlosi, you know, it could be other languages, maybe languages that we speak like Wolof, you know, Wolof is one of the languages which we speak by Umdiki, you know. So there are many things that we must understand in terms of the language so that we cannot find ourselves being confused. So umlozi, because of we don't have impande yawo kakhulu, that's why it's taking long. You find a person onomlozi asafara impilo yakhe yonke, bamthuma le nale uyavuka ebusuku, bamfuna emanzini, uyavuka uyagibela entabeni, you know, uyahamba lo muntu uyofuna inyoni ethize, wenza insizi and all those things. If I'm talking about insizi, I'm talking about things that are burnt in and transformed into ashes. Then we say iba yini, iba yiphengu leyo nto leyo, it becomes umuthi ozolapha abantu. The masters of such science, they're actually abelozi, basebenza kakhulu ngani ngalento esibiza ngokuthi insizi. Thokoza.
Thokoza ke. Thokoza Mkhulu, thokoza. So, Lozi, when and present also this prophet, this tune. Ngomgundi.
Yes.
Also now Mdao.
Yes.
I'm trying to break it down for the people. This is and majorly how you are going to know is the sounds in your ears. It could be a sound of water. So we can safely say ukuthi manguva ukuthi umlozi wasemanzini lowo mlozi loyo uyasebenzisana nemdawo.
Yes. Yes.
Uyasebenzisana futhi nenzonzi.
Yes.
Uyasebenzisana futhi nesprofito, and I'm going to take it back to Ipopoma.
No as well. Yes.
Thokoza ke. Uyasebenzisana futhi ne okay simbalile umnguni, simbalile inzuza, simbalile sprofito. So it's a very versatile spirit. Lesebenda ngetindlebe, lesebenda ngama sounds kakhulu. It could be whistles, it could be water sounds, it could be even the birds, Ketla.
Yes.
The birds.
Yes.
So izaba yeblozi kakhulu ilatindlebeni.
Yes, isebenza ngama sounds kakhulu. Remember, the birds, they are ones that normally goes next to the river, and they are ones that goes next to the mountain. That's why most of the time, if somebody would say, I have a visitation, Maunomlozi, for an example of Shob, umuntu athi njalo ekuseni kunale nyoni engizwayo lena efika itsida isebaleni noma iphezulu. Uyabona ama isebaleni, it tells you ukuthi unomlozi wasemanzini ngoba mostly amanzi aphansi. Mayiphezulu kakhulu, it tells you ukuthi unomlozi wakuphi waphezulu okumlozi wasentabeni.
So this sounds lokunye awukhona nekudefine kahle ukuthi sound bani. And bantu labakhala futhi labakhala ngethi bahlushwa indlebe kakhulu. Kuba bantu labanalo mlozi esikhathini listening, they have that spirit. Umvukhanza libala kuya kubodokotela ke so uzama ukulungisa indlebe takhe, something wrong with my hearing. Inzaba iba esikhathini listening kuba khona ukuthi isemlozini.
Yes. If you allow me to say this, Gogo Simenjalo Mausasela before call. You know, in there sometimes to tell what is the kakhulu ne. They would hear a person saying, "No, tata amafuta wenkuku ne wafake endlebeni then indlebe yakho izoba right." Have you ever heard people saying that? Saying, take the fat of a chicken, put it in your ear, then your ears will be fine. And most of the time, it is because of inkuku. We call it ichuba, normally we call it inyoni. You know, because of it simply shows you once that thing was taken from the culture of saying maybe angabe ahlushwa ebelozi uma sithatha amafuta wenkuku sizama ukuthi lebeluzi bangezi ngamandla kuye bamvale indlebe bese indlebe ziyavuleka. That is how it came about.
Thokoza ke. Thokoza.
Yes.
Thokoza, I am going to say Mkhulu the last pertinent things that you need to have a minute and a half left. So anything that you think you would have left out that is really important on this topic, Keta, please, this is the time for it.
Okay, the very important thing that I would say around the issue of Abalozi is that Abalozi, they are the most confusing and misunderstood type of an ancestor. People, they must make deeper research than what we are saying here. Let them Google if need be to understand about the Lozi people. The very same Lozi people that appears on the internet are the very same people as Abalozi or balwetsi, baloti, or baroti, or roti whatsoever, so that people can definitely understand their culture and relate their culture to what is happening in their dreams, what they're seeing in their visuals, mabalele busuku, before they initiate.
This lesson is going to be available on YouTube, possibly I think tomorrow night from 9:30. It's going to be premiered. Mkhulu so chubegile sister a connection, but our time is finished in any case. Thokozani, thank you very much for joining us.